It was super fun filming and editing that last video for you guys and getting back to making YouTube videos. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about hitchhiking and give you some examples. So the very first time I went hitchhiking was in Zambia, of all places. It was actually out of necessity because I went to this chimp sanctuary, which was in the middle of nowhere. So after I got there kind of by luck. I met somebody who owned the place or was going there as well or something. I somehow managed to get a ride into the sanctuary, but then on the way out they kind of dropped me off at the main road. It's in the middle of nowhere, and there's just the main road with no shops or bus stops or anything like that. And so to get to the next town I had to stand at the side of the road and just like hitchhike. And there were a couple of people also on the side of the road, Zambians, who helped me flag down a copper truck. So my first time hitchhiking was on a copper truck through the copper belt of Zambia. So there's a lot of copper mines there. And ever since then, I really had a taste for it. And it was just another example of how awesome people are. You really see the best of humanity when when people pick up hitchhikers, because these people are simply picking up strangers off the side of the street. And I ended up having a great chat about the copper industry in Zambia with the guys who picked me up the first time. And since then I've hitchhiked in a few different places like Nepal, and then more recently in Mexico. And when I tell people I hitchhiked in Mexico, I think the general response is one of fear, one of really like, what, you hitchhiked in Mexico, isn't it dangerous? But again, humanity really as a whole is outstanding. And what we often see is the worst of humanity. We see, the violence and, murder and kidnappings and rape, all these awful things that humans do. But we sometimes forget that actually there's also the best of humanity out there. And in my encounters through my travels, I've mostly seen that really great side of humans. In Mexico, I was hitchhiking with my boyfriend. His name is Q. So Q and I went to Valladolid, which is this little town in inland Yucatán. So kind of a little town, not by the coast. And it was really a really pretty little town, really cute. Weirdly, they did have vegan options. So I'll show you the vegan food that I ate in Valladolid. Also, it's spelled Valladolid with a V, but pronounced Valladolid, for those of you who didn't know that. And from Valladolid, we got a bus to Tizimin. And then from there, we got a taxi to this other tiny little town. And then from there, we had to get to Rio Lagartos. We were planning to go to Las Coloradas, but then we heard from a few people that apparently Las Coloradas, there's a lot of people there just for Instagram photos and seemed a little bit too touristy, I guess. I do still want to go there because it's a really cool area of Mexico, but we ended up hitchhiking to a spot called Rio Lagartos. So this man picked us up. It was this oldish man, maybe in his 50s, and he had this white hollow pipe stuck to the side of his car. And me and Q, we got into the back of the car, and turns out this man lives in a small town called Santa Cruz, I think. No, I can't remember. This town in the north of Mexico near Rio Lagartos. And he picked us up, and he didn't speak a word of English, nothing. So having been in Mexico for maybe about 2 or 3 months at this point, I had picked up just a little bit of Spanish, and I'd been using Duolingo as well to kind of help me with that. And so this was basically like a 2-hour Duolingo session with an actual Mexican man. And we ended up talking to him about the subjects that I had been practicing, right? So I asked him questions about his family, his daughter, does he have any daughters? We learned that his wife had sadly died the year before. And I think that's why he picked us up. I think he was just lonely and needed company in his car on this long drive home. And then he said something really funny happened right before his town. He basically said, something about water. All I really caught was agua. And then he turned off the main road into like a scene from true crime. So there was like a broken down tractor, a field, a derelict house, just some horses on the little country road. And in my head, my imagination's pretty strong, so in my head I was like, oh no, this is not good, something bad's gonna happen now. And so we drive in, he drives in slowly, there's horses in front of the car, so he winds down his window and he's like making noises at the horses to try and get them out of the way. Of course that's what he's doing, but in my mind he's like, uh-oh, that's him, he's calling his cronies, that's their sign. So I started really freaking out in my head, and I kind of gave Q a look, and I think he sensed I was a little bit afraid at this point. And this is, I think, the fun of hitchhiking, is it is a bit thrilling. You know, you do hear these horror stories sometimes, and even though you rationally know, you know, the chance of anything bad happening is very low, but even though you have those rational thoughts, you still have the irrational imagination. So he drives up to this derelict house, and then he gets out of the car, walks in, he said something to us like, wait here or something like that. Then he walks into the house and he comes out with a knife. And so my imagination is really going wild at this point, thinking, oh no. I was ready to run at that point. But I was patient, and again, I let my rational, higher thinking brain run the show at this point. And my higher thinking brain was like, you know what? We didn't get bad vibes from this man. He was really nice to us. And so he came out with the knife. He comes over to the side of the car and he cuts that pipe off the car, and then he goes and puts it down somewhere. And I guess the thing about water was to do with the pipe, because that kind of adds up. Then he got back in the car, we drove back onto the main road, and he drives us safely to his town. When we get to his town, we then tried to communicate with him that we need to get off here because we wanted to go to the town next to where he was dropping us off, next to the town where he lived. And he didn't let us get out of the car. He said, no, what are you doing? No, stay here. And again, I give Q a look like, are we allowed to get out of the car? And then he drives us around the town, and he just starts driving through the town slowly and pointing out certain landmarks, like where his sister lives and where his daughter lives, and oh, there are some friends of his, and he starts waving at them. And so essentially what he did was give us a little tour of his town, because he was, I guess, excited about having guests in his car and wanted to show them this little town. So then we kind of, in broken Spanish, communicated to him where we really needed to be was Rio Lagartos. And so he actually drove us all the way to Rio Lagartos. All we had to do was pay for some petrol, and that was it. And that's how we got from Valladolid to Rio Lagartos. So then we get to Rio Lagartos in the evening, and we run into this couple who saw us hitchhiking earlier, who saw us like at the side of the road, and they had made like a sign to us, like, I don't know, something about the back, and we didn't really know what they meant, but they didn't come back. So then we ran into them when we got to Rio Lagartos, and they explained to us that, so we kind of recognized each other. They were like, oh, you guys are the people hitchhiking. And then they said to us that they didn't have room because they had all this stuff in the back, but that they were going on a flamingo tour the next day. And so instead of going to Las Coloradas, Q and I signed up for the same tour, and we ended up doing this really cool little tour in a very underrated little town in northern Mexico, in Rio Lagartos, with this Mexican guy who was from Mayan descent. And he took us on a little tour, and we saw a baby crocodile and some flamingos. We also then stopped in this spot to like put like mud on us the way the Mayans used to. Apparently it's really good for your skin. So that was fun. And it was a really nice boat ride, very, very, very cool little tour. And we wouldn't even have done it had we not traveled adventurously and gone out there and just like met random people who invited us onto their trip. So it also turned out, I think the guy might have been famous. the Polish guy we met, I think he was kind of famous in Poland, some kind of music producer or something. It was him and his wife and me and Q, so the four of us were a nice little group for the day. And so yeah, I guess today's video is all about how being spontaneous and taking risks can really pay off, and you end up with these great stories and memories of your travels. Unplanned travel tends to be the best kind of travel, in my opinion. Don't wait for adventure, you know, just go and create it yourself by taking being a bit more risky, I guess. I will put in some vegan food stuff as well that I ate there. So in Valladolid, I ate a bunch of vegan food, and there was a place called Lagartos. I think it was called Lagartos, which is basically the same as La Hoja Verde in Tulum. So it's the same brand, I think. In Rio Lagartos, we found this place where they just made like a courgette zucchini for my American friends, with vegetables and rice and all that. And that's it. I think I'll end the video there. So that was the journey from Valladolid to Rio Lagartos, as I like to travel. So hitchhike and meet random people and have a good time. That's it for today's video. I will keep the journey going in the next few videos, so I hope you stay tuned and please give the video a like. The last video I did, I got a comment on it saying welcome back and that they were sad there weren't more videos. Comments like that honestly make my day. When I read that comment, it was awesome. Just so fun to see that people actually watch these videos and enjoy them. I like making them and I like sharing these stories, so it's just super uplifting. So see you soon, hopefully in the next video. Bye bye.